Hey, I'm Melanie from Female Fitness Systems, and today I'm going to be showing you how to create a balanced posture workout. I'll show you home and gym versions of the exercises in case you don't have equipment like mine, and I'll also show you a few tricks, ways that I like to optimize the exercises and make them feel better for myself. So let's get started. So when we think about bad posture, usually from hunching over our devices all day or sitting too much, the fix in the gym is to focus on pulling exercises that target the backside of your body, also called the posterior chain. That's why in my programs, posture workouts don't just hit the upper back muscles that we typically associate with good posture, but also include the lower back and the glutes. So today I'm going to show you an exercise for each of those areas, starting with one of the best moves for improving posture, the face pull. The face pull is an awesome pulling exercise for strengthening the shoulders and the upper back. So it's the perfect exercise for counteracting that forward shoulder position that so many of us get from sitting at a desk or endlessly scrolling on our phones. And face pulls also balance out all the pushing you're probably doing in your workouts, things like chest or shoulder exercises, and that's very important for shoulder health. So to do a face pull, what you want to do is set the cable machine at about face height and attach a rope handle. And then when you pull, you want to lead with your elbows and your thumbs. So your thumb should be pointing back and coming about eye or nose height. And think about pulling the rope apart and try to feel all of the back of your shoulder muscles working as well as your upper back. You're going to feel it in a variety of areas. It's not a super targeted exercise, but when you do face pulls, you know you've done them. They just make you feel really awesome. So they are definitely one of my favorite posture exercises. Now, one thing I wanted to talk about today is that you've heard me mention bracing in other videos, how when you brace your body, it lets you focus more on the muscles you're trying to work. And a simple way to do that with face pulls is just to sit down when doing them. So some people actually lay on the floor, but I think that's gross at a gym. So seated is a really good option that achieves the same thing. Also, for many women, grip is a limiting factor, so sometimes I prefer to do these with handles instead of the rope and use my training straps. So I get my training straps wrapped around the handles, and sorry this video is a bit dark so it's harder to see me doing that, but this variation is awesome because when you use training straps, your grip is no longer an issue and it really lets you focus on those upper back muscles more. So as I mentioned, done right, face pulls are an absolute game changer for posture and they should be in everybody's program. If you can't do face pulls because you train at home, you could optionally set them up with a band hooked into a door frame if that's possible for you. But another option is to do something like a pull apart, which are very similar. They work the same sort of muscles and they can make a really good substitute. Now, it's going to be hard to train pull aparts to failure or to train them really heavy, obviously, if you're using a band, but you can do higher reps, move slow, and focus on connecting with all the muscles in the upper back and your rear delts. And this is going to definitely help improve your posture over time, as well as any neck pain that you might experience. So moving on to the second exercise, we're going to look at the bent over rows, which are another very essential pulling exercise that you should be doing if you want better posture. And these are going to help strengthen not just your upper back, but your spinal stabilizers and your lower back, which is really important if you want to have good posture, but also to prevent back pain over time. Now, unsupported rows, the ones where you are freestanding, are a really fantastic way to build back strength, but you have to have very good form when you're doing them. They are a very advanced exercise, and especially in the beginning, most women struggle to get them right because you've got to keep that really good posture, avoid rounding your back, and make sure that you maintain connection to your core at all times. So what I wanted to do today is show you bent over rows on a Smith machine because most women tend to like these a lot more. They just feel a lot safer. And so these are a really good option if you're not confident doing the freestanding ones. To do a bent over row on the Smith machine, you need to make sure that the bar, when you're not holding it, is at about your mid shin. So what that means for some Smith machines is that you actually need to bring a platform over like a step with some risers under it and just raise yourself up a little bit, depending on the Smith machine. And then make sure that you create a really nice flat back. And the way to do that is to think about pushing your butt back to the wall behind you, and then your chest, try to push that forward to the wall in front of you. And think about really elongating your spine and keeping that posture while you're doing the exercise. And the other thing to think about is bracing your core, like tightening it up, pretending like somebody's going to punch you in the stomach. And that's going to help protect your lower back. So always be mindful of those things when you're doing the exercise, but also when you're picking up and putting down the weight so that you stay safe. Now, when it comes to bent over rows, if you aren't confident with your ability to do them with a good spine or to brace your core, or if you have any back issues, or maybe you just can't set them up because you don't have access to a Smith machine, another really good option is to just do them laying supported on a bench with dumbbells. When you lay on a bench, you don't have to think about keeping that spine straight anymore because the bench does it for you. And that lets you really focus on the muscles you're trying to work. Now, obviously, you're not going to get all the benefits of the bent over row, but they are still a really great option. And I like having both of them in my programs. And then one of the things I wanted to make sure I mentioned regarding bent over rows, regardless of what variation you're doing, is that I highly recommend using training straps because most ladies can lift quite a bit of weight with rows, and holding the weight is often the limiting factor because your hands just don't have the strength or your wrists get sore. And so using straps means that you can focus on your back muscles. You're going to actually feel them working more because you just take your grip out of the equation. So I highly, highly recommend using training straps. Now, as I mentioned at the start, a good posture workout should also target the glutes. And if you do my programs and ever wonder why there are so many glute bridges and hip thrusts, it's not just for appearance. Strong glutes mean much better posture and back health. Weak glutes often lead to issues like an anterior pelvic tilt, that arched back sort of look, tight hip flexors, and even lower back pain, all of which can throw off your posture. There's a reason that physiotherapists give you glute bridges to do when you have back problems. They are just such a great exercise for improving your back health overall. And most ladies are familiar with glute bridges, so what I'm going to do today is show you a couple of variations on them and ways to take them to the next level, especially if you don't have access to a lot of weight. I used to lift over 100 kilos when doing glute bridges in my 30s. So I used to do massively heavy glute bridges. But these days I prefer to lighten the load and use bands to increase glute activation. And this actually feels so much harder and effective than when I used to lift all that weight, and much safer and more comfortable too. Now, if you don't have an Olympic bar and plates, you can put a dumbbell on your hips. But if you're serious about getting stronger, you should be working up to a decent amount of weight. And it's easier to roll a bar on top of yourself than to lift a heavy dumbbell. And adding 2 bands, one above and below the knees, would also make these more challenging. What I wanted to do today is show you another variation that I do sometimes where I elevate my feet a little bit on a step platform. It's very awkward to get into, so be careful as you're getting it all set up. But the slight elevation increases the range of motion and makes these feel so much more effective. And by the way, if you're somebody who has a bigger booty, elevating your feet almost always makes glute bridges feel more effective, regardless of whether you're using weight or if you're just doing body weight or doing single leg bridges or banded bridges, whatever you're doing. If you elevate your feet a bit, they can often feel so much better. So the next time you're doing glute bridges, remember it's not just about making your glutes look better, although they will do that too. Bridges help strengthen your glutes, which support your lower back, and that's the foundation of good posture. And if you're somebody who has problems with hip thrusts, which are all the rage right now, glute bridges are a perfectly fine substitution and will give you many of the same benefits. So give these variations a try, and I'm sure you're going to find them super effective. Please remember, if you liked what you learned today, to leave a comment or give the video a thumbs up, because that really helps my channel and I would appreciate it so much. And remember, if you want some help with your training, including many full awesome posture workouts, then head over to femalefitnesssystems.com, where you'll find more info about training with me. The first area that always shapes up for my ladies is the upper back. So not only do they see all these lovely new muscles in their back, but they get better posture and have much less neck and back pain from doing my workouts, and I know you will too. So be sure to check them out. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next time.